Chapter 5, The Rules of Engagement, Wednesday, 15th, July 1992. And then some days you wake up and everything is perfect. This fine, bright, St. Swithin's day found them under an immense blue sky with not the smallest chance of rain, on the sun deck of the ferry that steamed slowly across the Aegean. In new sunglasses and holiday clothes, they lay side by side in the morning sun, sleeping off last night's Taverna hangover. Day 2 of a 10-day island hopping holiday, and the rules of engagement were still holding firm. A sort of platonic Geneva Convention. The rules were a set of basic prohibitions, completed before departure to ensure that the holiday didn't get complicated. Emma was single again. A brief, undistinguished relationship with Spike, a bicycle repairman whose fingers smelt perpetually of WD-40, had ended with barely a shrug on either side, but had at least served to give her confidence a boost. And her bicycle had never been in better shape. For his part, Dexter had stopped seeing Naomi because he said it was getting too intense, whatever the hell that meant. Since then he had passed through Avril, Mary, a Sarah with an H, a Sandra, and a Yolanda before alighting on Ingrid, a ferocious model turned fashion stylist who had been forced to give up modeling. She had told Emma this with a straight face because her breasts were too large for the catwalk. And as she said this, it seemed as if Dexter might explode with pride. Ingrid was the kind of sexually confident girl who wore her bra on top of her shirt, and although she was by no means threatened by Emma, or indeed by anyone on this earth, it had been decided by all parties that it might be better to get a few things straight before the swimwear was unveiled. The cocktails were drunk. Not that anything was likely to happen. That brief window had closed some years ago, and they were immune to each other now, secure in the confines of firm friendship. Nevertheless, on a Friday night in June, Dexter and Emma had sat outside the pub on Hampstead Heath and compiled the rules. Number 1. Separate bedrooms. Whatever happened, there were to be no shared beds, neither double nor single. No drunken cuddles or hugs. They were not students anymore. And I don't see the point of cuddling anyway, Dexter had said. Cuddling just gives you cramp. And Emma had agreed and added, no flirting either. Rule 2. Well, I don't flirt, so, said Dexter, rubbing his foot against the inside of her shin. Seriously, though, no having a few drinks and getting frisky. Frisky? You know what I mean. No funny business. What, with you? With me, or anyone. In fact, that's rule 3. I don't want to have to sit there like a lemon while you're rubbing oil into Lottie from Stuttgart. And that is not going to happen. No, it isn't, because it's a rule. Rule number 4, at Emma's insistence, was the no nudity clause. No skinny dipping, physical modesty and discretion at all times. She did not want to see Dexter in his underpants, or in the shower, or, God forbid, going to the toilet. In retaliation, Dexter proposed rule number 5, no Scrabble. More and more of his friends were playing it now, in a knowing, ironic way, triple word, score, craving freaks, but it seemed to him like a game designed expressly to make him feel stupid and bored. No Scrabble and no Boggle either. He wasn't dead yet. Now on day 2, with the rules still in place, they lay on the deck of the ancient rust-spotted ferry as it chugged slowly from Rhodes towards the smaller Dodecanese Islands. Their first night had been spent in the old town, drinking sugary cocktails from hollowed-out pineapples, unable to stop grinning at each other with the novelty of it all. The ferry had left Rhodes while it was still dark, and now at 9 a.m. they lay quietly nursing their hangovers, feeling the throb of the engines in their churning liquid stomachs, eating oranges, quietly reading, quietly burning, entirely happy in each other's silence. Dexter cracked first, sighing and placing his book on his chest. Nabokov's Lolita, a gift from Emma, who is responsible for selecting all the holiday reading, a great breeze block of books, a mobile library that took up most of her suitcase. A moment passed. He sighed again for effect. What's up with you? Said Emma, without looking up from Dostoevsky's The Idiot. I can't get into it. It's a masterpiece. Makes my head hurt. I should have got something with pictures or flaps. Oh, I am enjoying it. Very Hungry Caterpillar or something. I'm just finding it a bit dense. It's just this bloke banging on about how horny he is all the time. I thought it would strike a chord. She raised her sunglasses. It's a very erotic book, Dex. Only if you're into little girls. Tell me one more time, why were you sacked from that language school in Rome? I've told you, she was 23 years old, Em. Go to sleep then. She picked up her Russian novel, Philistine. He settled his head once more against his rucksack, but two people were by his side now, casting a shadow over his face. The girl was pretty and nervous. The boy was large and pale, almost magnesium white in the morning sun. "Excuse me," said the girl in a Midlands accent. Dexter shielded his eyes and smiled broadly up at them. "Hi there. Aren't you that bloke off the telly?" "Might be," said Dexter, sitting and removing his sunglasses with a raffish little flick of his head. Emma quietly groaned. "What's it called? Large in it?" The title of the TV show was always spelt in lowercase, lower being the more fashionable of the two cases at this time. Dexter held his hand up. "Guilty as charged." Emma laughed briefly through her nose, and Dexter shot her a look. "Funny bit," she explained, nodding towards her Dostoevsky. "I knew I'd seen you on the telly." The girl nudged her boyfriend. "I said so, didn't I?" The pale man shuffled and mumbled, then silence. Dexter became aware of the chug of the engines in Lolita lying open on his chest. He slipped it quietly into his bag. "On holiday, are you?" he asked. The question was clearly redundant, but allowed him to slip into his television persona, that of a really great, down-to-earth guy who they'd just met at the bar. "Yeah, holiday," mumbled the man. More dead air. "This is my friend Emma." Emma peered over her sunglasses. "Hi there." The girl squinted at her. "Are you on television too?" "Me? God, no." She widened her eyes. "Though it is my dream." "Emma works for Amnesty International," said Dexter proudly, one hand on her shoulder. "Part-time. Mainly I work in a restaurant." "As a manager. But she's just about to pack it in. She's training to be a teacher in September, aren't you, Em?" Emma looked at him levelly. "Why are you talking like that?" "Like what?" Dexter laughed defiantly, but the young couple were shifting uneasily, the man looking over the ship's side as if contemplating the jump. Dexter decided to round up the interview. "So we'll see you on the beach, yeah? Maybe get a beer or something?" And the couple smiled and headed back to their bench. Dexter had never consciously set out to be famous, though. He had always wanted to be successful. And what was the point of being successful in private? People should know. Now that fame had happened to him, it did make a certain sense, as if fame were a natural extension of being popular at school. He hadn't set out to be a TV presenter either. Did anyone? But was delighted to be told that he was a natural. Appearing on camera had been like sitting at a piano for the first time and discovering he was a virtuoso. The show itself was less issue-based than other shows he had worked on, really just a series of live bands, video exclusives, celebrity interviews, and yes, okay, it wasn't exactly demanding. All he really did was look at the camera and shout, "Make some noise!" But he did it so well, so attractively, with such swagger and charm. But public recognition remained a new experience. He was self-aware enough to know that he possessed a certain facility for what Emma would call pratishness, and with this in mind, he had been investing some private effort into working out what to do with his face. Anxious not to appear affected or cocky or a fake, he had been devising an expression that said, "Hey, it's no big deal, it's only TV," and he assumed this expression now, replacing his sunglasses and returning to his book. Emma watched this performance, amused. The straining for nonchalance, the slight flare of the nostrils, the smile that flickered at the corners of his mouth. She pushed her sunglasses up onto her forehead. "It's not going to change you, is it?" "What?" "Being very, 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 very slightly famous." "I hate that word. Famous." "Oh, and what would you prefer? Well known?" "How about notorious?" He grinned. "Or annoying? How about annoying?" "Leave it out, will you?" "And you can drop that now, please." "What?" "The Cockney accent. You went to Winchester College, for Christ's sake." "I don't do a Cockney accent." "When you're being Mr. TV, you do. You sound like you've left your Welsh stall to go and do this fancy telly program." "You've got a Yorkshire accent." "Because I'm from Yorkshire." Dexter shrugged. "I've got to talk like that, otherwise it alienates the audience." "And what if it alienates me?" "I'm sure it does, but you're not one of the 2 million people who watch my show." "Oh, your show is it now?" "The TV show on which I feature." She laughed and went back to her book. After a while, Dexter spoke again. "Well, do you?" "What? Watch me? On Largenet?" "I'm might have had it on in the background once or twice while I'm balancing my checkbook. And what do you think? She sighed and fixed her eyes on the book. It's not my thing, Dex. Tell me anyway. I don't know about TV. Just what you think. Okay, well, I think the program is like being screamed at for an hour by a drunk with strobe light. But like I said, all right, point taken. He glanced at his book, then back at Emma. And what about me? What about you? Well, am I any good as a presenter? She removed her sunglasses. Dexter, you are possibly the greatest presenter of youth TV that this country has ever known, and I don't say that kind of thing lightly. Proudly, he raised himself onto one elbow. Actually, I prefer to think of myself as a journalist. Emma smiled and turned to Paige. I'm sure you do. Because that's what it is, journalism. I have to research, shape the interview, ask the right questions. She held her chin between finger and thumb. Yes, I believe I saw your in-depth piece on MC Hammer. Very sharp, very provoking. Shut up, Em. No, seriously, the way you got under MC's skin, his musical inspirations, the trousers, it was, well, untouchable. He swatted at her with his book. Shut up and read, will you? He lay back and closed his eyes. Emma glanced over to check that he was smiling and smiled too. Mid-morning approached, and while Dexter slept, Emma caught her first sight of their destination, a blue-gray granite mass rising from the clearest sea that she had ever seen. She had always assumed that water like this was a lie told by brochures, a trick with lenses and filters. But there it was, sparkling in emerald green. At first glance, the island seemed unpopulated except for the huddle of houses spreading up from the harbor, buildings the color of coconut ice. She found herself laughing quietly at the sight of it. Until now, travel had always been a fraught affair. Each year until she was 16, it had been 2 weeks fighting with her sister in a caravan in Philly, while her parents drank steadily and looked out at the rain, a sort of harsh experiment in the limits of human proximity. At university, she had gone camping in the Cairnorms with Tilly Killick, 6 days in a tent that smelt of a cup of soup. A larky so awful it's funny holiday that had ended up just awful. Now standing at the railing as the town came into clearer view, she began to understand the point of travel. She had never felt so far away from launderettes. The top deck of the night bus home, Tilly's box room. It was as if the air was somehow different here, not just how it tasted and smelt, but the element itself. In London, the air was something you peered through, like a neglected fish tank. Here, everything was bright and sharp, clean and clear. She heard the snap of a camera shutter and turned in time to see Dexter take her photo again. I look terrible, she said, as a reflex, though perhaps she didn't. He joined her, his arms holding the rail on either side of her waist. Beautiful, isn't it? It's all right, she said, unable to recall a time when she had felt happier. They disembarked, the first time she felt that she had ever disembarked, and immediately found a flurry of activity on the quayside, as the casual travelers and backpackers began the scramble for the best accommodation. So what happens now? I'll find us somewhere. You wait in that cafe. I'll come and get you. Somewhere with a balcony. Yes, ma'am. And a sea view, please, and a desk. I'll see what I can do. And sandals slapping, he strolled towards the crowd on the quay. She shouted after him, and don't forget! He turned and looked at her, standing on the harbor wall, holding her wide-brimmed hat to her head in the warm breeze that pressed her light blue dress against her body. She no longer wore spectacles, and there was a scattering of freckles across her chest that he had never seen before, the bare skin turning from pink to brown as it disappeared from the neckline. The rules, she said. What about them? We need 2 rooms, yes? Absolutely, 2 rooms. He smiled and headed off into the crowd. Emma watched him go, then dragged the 2 backpacks along the quay to a small, wind-blown cafe. There she reached into her bag and pulled out a pen and notebook, an expensive cloth-bound affair, her journal for the trip. She opened it on the first blank page and tried to think of something she could write, some insight or observation other than that everything was fine. Everything was fine, and she had the rare new sensation of being exactly where she wanted to be. Dexter and the landlady stood in the middle of the bare room, whitewashed walls and cool stone floor, bare save for an immense iron-framed double bed, a small writing desk and chair, and some dried flowers in a jar. He walked through double doors onto a large balcony painted to match the color of the sky, overlooking the bay below. It was like walking out onto some fantastic stage. You are how many? Asked the landlady, mid-30s, quite attractive. 2 of us. And for how long? Not sure, 5 nights, maybe more. Well, here is perfect, I think. Dexter sat on the double bed, bouncing on it speculatively. But my friend and I, we are just good friends. We need 2 rooms. Oh, okay, I have a second room. Emma has these freckles that I've never seen before scattered across her chest just above the neckline. So you do have 2 rooms? Yes, of course, I have 2 rooms. There's good news and there's bad news. Go on, said Emma, closing her notebook. Well, I found this fantastic place, sea view, balcony, a bit higher up in the village. Quiet if you want to write. There's even a little desk, and it's free for the next 5 days. Longer if we want it. And the bad news? There's only 1 bed. Ah, I see. Sorry. Really? She said suspiciously. 1 bedroom on the whole island? It's peak season, Em. I've tried everywhere. Stay calm, don't get shrill. Maybe play the guilt card instead. But if you want me to carry on looking, wearily he made to get up from the chair. She put her hand on his forearm. Single or double bed? The lie seemed to be holding. He sat again. Double. A big double. Well, it would have to be a pretty massive bed, though, wouldn't it, to conform to the rules? Well, Dexter shrugged. I suppose I prefer to think of them as guidelines. Emma frowned. What I mean, Em, is I don't mind if you don't. No, I know you don't mind, but if you really don't think you can keep your hands off me, oh, I can manage. It's you I worry about. Because I'm telling you now, if you lay 1 finger on me... Emma loved the room. She stood on the balcony and listened to the cicadas, a noise that she had only heard in films before and had half suspected to be an exotic fiction. She was delighted, too, to see lemons growing in the garden, actual lemons, in trees. They seemed glued on. Keen not to appear provincial, she said none of this out loud, simply saying, Fine, we'll take it. Then, while Dexter made arrangements with the landlady, she slipped into the bathroom to continue fighting with her contact lenses. At university, Emma had held firm private convictions about the vanity of contact lenses, nurturing as they did conventional notions of idealized feminine beauty. A sturdy, honest, utilitarian pair of national health spectacles showed that you didn't care about silly trivia like looking nice, because your mind was on higher things. But in the years since leaving college, this line of argument had come to seem so abstract and specious that she had finally succumbed to Dexter's nagging and got the damn things. Realizing only too late that what she had really been avoiding for all those years was that moment in the movies. The librarian removes her spectacles and shakes out her hair. But Miss Morley, you're beautiful. Her face in the mirror seemed strange to her now, bare and exposed, as if she had just removed her spectacles for the last 9 months. The lenses had a tendency to make her prone to random and alarming facial spasms, ratty blinks. They stuck to her finger and face like fish scales, or, as now, slid beneath her eyelid, burying themselves deep in the back of her skull. After a rigorous bout of facial contortion and what felt like surgery, she managed to retrieve the shard, stepping out of the bathroom, red-eyed and blinking tearfully. Dexter was sitting on the bed, his shirt unbuttoned. Em, are you crying? No, it's still early. They headed out in the oppressive lunchtime heat, finding their way towards the long crescent of white sand that stretched for a mile or so from the village, and it was time to unveil the swimming costumes. Emma had put a lot of thought, perhaps too much, into her swimsuit, settling finally for a plain black all-in-one from John Lewis that might have been branded the Edwardian. As she pulled her dress over her head, she wondered if Dexter thought she was in some way chickening out by not wearing a bikini, as if a one-piece swimming costume belonged with spectacles, desert boots, and bike helmets, as somehow prudish, cautious, not quite feminine. Not that she cared, though she did wonder, as her dress passed over her head, if she had caught his eyes flickering in her direction. Either way, she was pleased to note that he had gone for the baggy shorts look. A week of lying next to Dexter in Speedos would be more uncomfortable than she could bear. Excuse me, he said, but aren't you the girl from Ipanema? No, I'm her auntie, she said, and attempted to apply suntan lotion to her legs in a way that wouldn't make her thighs wobble. What is that stuff? He said. Factor 30? You might as well lie under a blanket. I don't want to overdo it on the second day. It's like house paint. I'm not used to the sun. Not like you, you globe-trotter. You want some. I don't agree with suntan lotion. Dexter, you are so hard. He smiled and continued to watch her from behind his dark glasses, noting the way her raised arm lifted her breast, beneath the black material of the swimming costume, the bulge of soft pale flesh about the elasticated neckline. There was something about the gesture, too, the tilt of the head and the pulling back of her hair as she applied the lotion to her neck, and he felt the pleasant nausea that accompanied desire. Oh God, he thought, 8 more days of this. Her swimming costume was scooped low at the back, and she could do no more than dab ineffectually at the lowest point. Want me to do your back, he said. Offering to apply sun cream was a corny old routine, beneath him really, and he thought it best to pass it off as medical concern. You don't want to burn. Go on then. Emma shuffled over and sat between his legs, her head resting forward on her knees. He began to apply the lotion, his face so close that she could feel his breath on her neck, while he could feel the heat reflecting off her skin, both of them working hard on the impression that this was everyday behavior and in no way a clear contravention of rules 2 and 4, those prohibiting flirtation and physical modesty. Scooped quite low, isn't it? He said, aware of his fingers at the base of her spine. Good job I didn't put it on backwards, she said, and a silence followed while both of them thought, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. As a distraction, she placed her hand on his ankle and yanked it towards her. What's this? My tattoo from India. She rubbed it with her thumb as if trying to wipe it off. It's faded a bit. It's a yin-yang, he explained. Looks like a road sign. It means the perfect union of opposites. It means end of national speed limit. It means put some socks on. He laughed and placed his hands on her back, his thumbs aligned with the hollows of her shoulder blades. A moment passed. There, he said brightly, that's your undercoat, so let's swim. And so the long, hot day crawled on. They swam and slept and read, and as the fiercest heat faded and the beach became more populated, a problem became apparent. Dexter noticed it first. Is it just me, or what? Is everyone on this beach completely naked? Emma looked up. Oh, yeah. She returned to her book. Don't ogle, Dexter. I'm not ogling, I'm observing. I'm a qualified anthropologist, remember? Low third, wasn't it? High 2-2. Look, there's our friends. What friends? From the ferry over there, having a barbecue. 20 meters away, the man crouched pale and naked over a smoky aluminum tray as if for warmth, while the woman stood on tiptoes and waved 2 triangles of white, 1 of black. Dexter waved back cheerily. You've got no clothes on. Emma averted her eyes. You see, I couldn't do that. What? Barbecue naked? Em, you're so conventional. That's not conventional. It's basic health and safety. It's food hygiene. I'd barbecue naked. And that's the difference between us, Dex. You're so dark, so complicated. Maybe we should go and say hi. No. Just have a chat. With a chicken drumstick in one hand and his knob in the other, no thanks. Besides, isn't it a breach of nudist etiquette or something? What? Talking to someone naked and us not being naked. I don't know, is it? Just concentrate on your book, will you? She turned to face the tree line, but over the years she had reached a level of familiarity with Dexter where it had become possible to hear an idea enter his mind like a stone thrown into mud, and sure enough. So what do you think? What? Should we? What? Take all our clothes off? No, we should not take all our clothes off. Everyone else has. There's no reason. And what about Rule 4? Not a rule, a guideline. No, a rule. So we can bend it. If you bend it, it's not a rule. Sulkily, he flopped back down on the sand. Just seems a bit rude, that's all. Fine, you go ahead. I'll try to tear my eyes away. No point if it's just me, he mumbled petulantly. She lay her back down once again. Dexter, why on earth are you so desperate for me to take my clothes off? I just thought we might be more relaxed with our clothes off. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. You don't think you'd be more relaxed? No. Why not? It doesn't matter why not. Besides, I don't think your girlfriend would be very pleased. Ingrid wouldn't care. She's very open-minded, Ingrid. She'd have her top off at W.H. Smith's in the airport. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Dex. You don't disappoint me. But there's a difference. What difference? Well, Ingrid used to be a model, for one thing. So? You could be a model. Emma laughed sharply. Oh, Dexter, do you really think so? For catalogs or something. You've got a lovely figure. A lovely figure. God help me. All I'm saying is completely objectively, you're a very attractive woman who is keeping her clothes on. If you're so desperate to tan your bits, fine, go ahead. Now can we change the subject? He turned and lay down on his front alongside her, head resting on his arms, their elbows touching, and once again she could hear the sound of his thoughts. He nudged her with his elbow. Of course, it's nothing we've not seen before. Slowly she lay her book down, lifted her sunglasses onto her forehead, her face resting sideways on her forearms, the mirror of him. Beg pardon? I'm just saying that neither of us has got anything that the other hasn't seen before, nudity-wise. She stared. That night, remember, after the graduation party, our one night of love? Dexter? I'm just saying it's not as if we've got any surprises, genitally speaking. I think I'm going to be sick. You know what I mean. It was a long time ago. Not that long. If I close my eyes, I can picture it. Don't do that. Yep, there you are. It was dark. Not that dark. I was drunk. That's what they always say. They? Who's they? And you weren't that drunk. Drunk enough to lower my standards. Besides, as I recall, nothing happened. Well, I wouldn't call it nothing. Not from where I was laying. Lying? Laying. Laying or lying? Lying. I was young. I didn't know any better. In fact, I've blinked it out like a car crash. Well, I haven't. If I close my eyes, I can picture you right now, silhouetted against the morning light, your discarded dungarees splayed provocatively on the habitat duree. She tapped him sharply on the nose with her book. Ow! Look, I'm not taking my clothes off, all right? And I wasn't wearing dungarees. I've never worn dungarees in my life. She retrieved her book, then started to laugh quietly to herself. What's funny? He asked. Habitat duree, she laughed and looked at him fondly. You make me laugh sometimes. Do I? Every now and then. You should be on television. Gratified. Gratified, he smiled and closed his eyes. He had in fact retained a vivid mental picture of Emma from that night, lying on the single bed naked except for the skirt around her waist, her arms thrown up above her head as they kissed. He thought about this and eventually fell asleep. In the late afternoon they returned to the room, tired and sticky and tingling from the sun, and there it was again, the bed. They stepped around it and walked out onto the balcony that overlooked the sea, hazy now as the sky shaded from blue into the pink of the evening. So, who wants first shower? You go ahead, I'm going to sit out here and read. She lay on the faded sun lounger in the evening shade, listening to the sound of the running water and trying to concentrate on the tiny typeface of her Russian novel, which seemed to be getting smaller with each page. She stood suddenly and crossed to the small fridge that they'd filled with water and beer, took a can and noticed that the bathroom door had swung open. There was no shower curtain, and you could see Dexter standing side on beneath the cold water, eyes closed against the spray, head back, arms raised. She noticed his shoulder blades, the long brown back, the two hollows at the base of his spine above the small white... I hate this. Two hollows at the base of his spine above the small white bottom. But oh God, he was turning now, and the can of beer slipped through her hand and exploded, fizzing and foaming, propelling itself noisily around the floor. She threw a towel over it, as if capturing some wild rodent, then looked up to see Dexter, her platonic friend, naked except for his clothes held loosely in front of him. Slipped out of my hand, she said, stamping the beer foam into the towel and thinking 8 more days and nights of this, and I will self-combust. Then it was her turn to shower. She closed the door, washed the beer from her hands, then contorted herself as she struggled to undress in the tiny humid bathroom that still smelt of his aftershave. Rule 4 required that Dexter go and stand on the balcony while she dried herself and got dressed, but after some experimentation he found that if he kept his sunglasses on and turned his head just so, he could see her reflection in the glass door as she struggled to rub lotion onto the low parabola of her newly tanned back. He watched the wiggle of her hips as she pulled on her underwear, the concave curve of her back and arch of shoulder blades as she fastened her bra, the raised arms in the blue summer dress coming down like a curtain. She joined him on the balcony. Maybe we should just stay here, he said, instead of island hopping. Hang out for a week, then back to Rhodes, then home. She smiled. Okay, maybe. Don't think you'd get bored? I don't think so. Happy then. Well, my face feels like a grilled tomato, but apart from that... Let me see. Closing her eyes, she turned towards him and lifted her chin, her hair still wet and combed back off her face, which was shiny and scrubbed clean. It was Emma, but all new. She glowed, and he thought of the word sun-kissed, then thought, kiss her, take hold of her face and kiss her. She opened her eyes suddenly. "What now?" she said. "Whatever you want. Game of Scrabble. I have my limits. Okay, how about dinner? Apparently they have this thing called Greek salad." The restaurants in the small town were remarkable for being all identical. The air hung smoky with burning lamb, and they sat in a quiet place at the end of the harbor, where the crescent of the beach began, and drank wine that tasted of pine. "Christmas trees," said Dexter. "Disinfectant," said Emma. Music played from speakers concealed in the plastic vines. Madonna's "Get Into the Groove" performed on the zither. They ate stale bread rolls, burnt lamb, salad soused in acetic acid, all of which tasted just fine. After a while, even the wine became delicious, like some interesting mouthwash, and soon Emma felt ready to break rule 2, no flirting. She had never been a proficient flirt. Her spasms of kittenish behavior were graceless and inept, like normal conversation on roller skates. But the combination of the Retsina and sun made Emma feel sentimental and lightheaded. She reached for her roller skates. "I've got an idea." "Go on." "Well, if we're going to stay here for 8 days, we're going to run out of things to talk about, right?" "Not necessarily. But to be on the safe side," she leant forward, put her hand on his wrist. "I think we should tell each other something that the other person doesn't know." "What, like a secret?" "Exactly, a secret. Something surprising. One a night, every night for the rest of the holiday. Sort of like spin the bottle." His eyes widened. Dexter considered himself a world-class spin the bottle player. "Okay, you first." "No, you first." "Why me first?" "You've got more to choose from." And it was true. He had an almost bottomless supply of secrets. He could tell her that he'd watched her getting dressed that night, or that he'd left the bathroom door open on purpose when he showered. He could tell her that he'd smoked heroin with Naomi, or that just before Christmas he'd had fast, unhappy sex with Emma's flatmate, Tilly Killick, a foot massage that had spun horribly out of control while Emma was at Woolworth's buying fairy lights for the tree. But perhaps it would be better to go for something that didn't reveal him as shallow or seedy, duplicitous or conceited. He thought for some time. "Okay, here goes." He cleared his throat. "A couple of weeks ago at this club, I got off with this guy." Her mouth fell open. "A guy?" And she started to laugh. "Well, I take my hat off to you, Dex. You're really full of surprises." "No big deal, just a snog." And I was off my face. "That's what they all say. So tell me what happened." "Well, it was this hardcore gay night, sex face, at this club called Strap in Vauxhall." Sex face at Strap? Whatever happened to discos called Roxy's or Manhattan's? It's not a disco, it's a gay club. "And what were you doing in a gay club?" "We always go. The music's better. More hardcore, less of that happy house shit." "You mentalist." "Anyway, I was there with Ingrid and her mates, and I was dancing, and this guy just came up to me and started kissing me. And I suppose I just sort of, kissed him back." "And did you?" "What?" "Like it?" "It was all right. Just a kiss. A mouth is just a mouth, isn't it?" Emma laughed once loudly. "Dexter, you've the soul of a poet." "A mouth is just a mouth. Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. Isn't that from As Time Goes By?" "You know what I mean. A mouth is just a mouth. They should put that on your tombstone." "What did Ingrid say?" "She just laughed. She doesn't mind. She quite liked it." He gave a blazed shrug. "Ingrid's bisexual anyway, so..." Emma rolled her eyes. "Of course she's bisexual." And Dexter smiled as if Ingrid's bisexuality had been his idea. "Hey, it's not a big deal, is it? We're meant to be experimenting with sexuality at our age." "We are? No one tells me anything." "You must get up to stuff." "I left the lights on once, but I wouldn't do it again." "Well, you better go on with it, Em. She'd shed those inhibitions." "Oh, Dex, you're such a sexpert. What was he wearing, then, your friend at the Strap?" "Not the Strap, just Strap. A harness and leather chaps. A British telecom engineer called Stewart." "And do you think you'll be seeing Stewart again?" "Only if my phone breaks down. He wasn't my type." "It seems to me like everyone's your type." "It was just a colorful episode, that's all." "What's funny?" "Just, you look so pleased with yourself." "No, I don't. Homophobe." He started to peer over her shoulder. "Oh, hey, are you making a pass at the waiter?" "I'm trying to get us another drink. Your turn now. Your secret." "Oh, I give in. I can't compete with that kind of thing." "No girl on girl?" She shook her head, resigned. "You know, one day you're going to say something that like that to a real-life lesbian, and they're going to break your jaw. So you've never been attracted to it. Don't be pathetic, Dexter. Now do you want to hear my secret or what? The waiter arrived with complimentary Greek brandies, the kind of drink that can only be given away. Emma took a sip and winced, then carefully rested her cheek on her hand in a way that she knew suggested a tipsy intimacy. A secret. Let me see. She tapped her chin on her finger. She could tell him that she had watched him in the shower, or that she knew all about Tilly Killick at Christmas, the foot massage that had spun horribly out of control. She could even tell him that in 1983 she had kissed Polly Dawson in her bedroom, but knew that she would never hear the end of it. Besides, she had known all evening what she intended to say. As the zither played like a prayer, she licked her lips and made her eyes sultry, along with other tiny readjustments, until she had constructed what she believed to be her best, most attractive face, the one she used in photographs. When we first met at university, before we became, pals, well, I had a bit of a crush on you. Not a bit of a crush, a massive crush, actually, for ages. Wrote dopey poems and everything. Poems? Really? I'm not proud of myself. I see. He folded his arms, put them on the edge of the table, and looked down. Well, I'm sorry, Em, but that doesn't count. Why not? Because you said it had to be something that I didn't know. He was grinning, and she was reminded once more of his almost limitless capacity to disappoint. God, you're annoying. She slapped the reddest part of his sunburn with the back of her hand. Ow! How did you know? Tilly told me. Nice one, Tilly. So what happened? She looked into the bottom of her glass. I suppose it was something you get over in time, like shingles. No, really, what happened? I got to know you. You cured me of you. Well, I want to read these poems. What rhymes with Dexter? Bastard. It's a half rhyme. Seriously, what happened to them? They've been destroyed. I built a bonfire years ago. Feeling foolish and let down, she drank once more from the empty glass. Too much brandy. We should go. She began to look distractedly for the waiter, and Dexter began to feel foolish now. So many things he might have said, so why be smug, glib, ungenerous? Keen to find a way to make amends, he nudged her hand. So shall we go for a walk? She hesitated. Okay, let's go for a walk. They headed out along the bay, past the half-built houses of the town as it spread itself along the coast, a new tourist development that they deplored in a conventional way, and while they talked, Emma silently resolved to be more sensible in future. Recklessness, spontaneity, didn't really suit her. She couldn't carry it off. The results were never what she hoped for. Her confession to Dexter had felt like swinging wildly at a ball, watching it sail high into the air, then moments later hearing the sound of breaking glass. For the remainder of their time together, she resolved to stay level-headed, sober, and remember the rules. Remember Ingrid, beautiful, uninhibited bisexual Ingrid, waiting for him back in London. No more inappropriate revelations. In the meantime, she would just have to drag the stupid conversation round with her, like toilet paper on the heel of her shoe. They had left the town behind now, and Dexter took her hand to support her as they stumbled woozily over the dry dunes, still warm from the day's sun. They walked towards the sea to where the sand was wet and firm, and Emma noticed that he was still holding her hand. Where are we going anyway? She asked, noting the slur in her voice. I'm going for a swim. You coming? You're insane. Come on. I'll drown. You won't. Look, it's beautiful. The sea was very calm and clear, like some wonderful aquarium, jade with a phosphorescent gleam. If you scooped it up, it would glow in your hands. Dexter was already pulling his shirt off over his head. Come on, it'll sober us up. But I haven't got any swimming cost. Oh. But I haven't got my swimming cost, a realization dawned. Oh, I get it, she laughed. I see what's going on here. What? I've walked right into it, haven't I? What? The old skinny dip routine. Get a girl drunk and look for the nearest large body of water. Emma, you're such a prude. Why are you such a prude? You go on, I'll wait here. Fine, but you'll regret it. His back was to her now, taking down his trousers, then his underwear. Leave your underpants on, she shouted after him, watching his long brown back and white buttocks as he strode down to the sea. You're not at sex face now, you know. He fell forward into the surf, and she stood swaying woozily, feeling solitary and absurd. Wasn't this exactly one of the experiences she craved? Why couldn't she be more spontaneous and reckless? If she was too scared to swim without a costume, how could she ever be expected to tell a man that she wanted to kiss him? Before the thought was finished, she had reached down, grabbed the hem of her dress, and in a single movement peeled it over her head. She removed her underwear, kicking it off her foot high into the air, letting it lie where it fell, and ran, laughing and swearing to herself, towards the water's edge. Standing up on tiptoe, as far out as he dared to go, Dexter wiped the water from his eyes, looking out to sea, and wondered what would happen next. Qualms. He felt the onset of qualms. A situation loomed, and hadn't he resolved to try and avoid situations for a while? To be less reckless and spontaneous? This was Emma Morley, after all, and Em was precious, his best friend probably. And what about Ingrid, privately known as Scary Ingrid? He heard a garbled shout of exhilaration from the beach, and turned just too late to see Emma stumble naked into the water as if pushed from behind. Honesty and frankness, those would be his watchwords. She splashed towards him with a messy crawl, and he decided to be frank and honest for a change and see where that got him. Emma arrived, gasping, suddenly aware of the sea's translucency. She was struggling to find a way to tread water with one arm folded across her chest. So this is it, then? What? Skinny dipping. It is. What do you think? It's all right, I suppose. Very larky. What am I meant to do now? Just goof around or splash you or what? She cocked her hand, threw water lightly on his face. Am I doing it right? Before he could splash her back, the current caught her and pulled her towards Dexter, who stood with his feet braced against the seabed. He caught her, their legs interlacing like clasped fingers, bodies touching, then held apart again like dancers. That's a very soulful face, she said, to break the silence. Hey, you're not having a wee in the water, are you? No. So? So anyway, what I meant to say was sorry for what I said. When? Back in the restaurant for being a bit glib or whatever. It's all right, I'm used to it. And also to say I thought the same thing too, at the time. What I mean is I liked you too. Romantically, I mean. I didn't write poems or anything, but I thought about you. Think about you. You and me. I fancy you. Really? Oh, really? Right. Oh, right. It's going to happen after all, she thought. Right here and now, standing naked in the Aegean Sea. My problem is, and he sighed and smiled with one side of his mouth, well, I suppose I fancy pretty much everybody. I see, was all she could say. Anyone, really, just walking down the street. It's like you said, everyone's my type. It's a nightmare. Poor you, she said flatly. What I mean is that I don't think I am ready for, boyfriend-girlfriend. I think we'd want different things from a relationship. Because you're a gay man? I'm being serious, Em. Are you? I can never tell. Are you angry with me? No, I don't care. I told you it was a long, long time ago. However, under the water his hands found her waist and held on. However, if you wanted a bit of fun? Break the rules? Play Scrabble? You know what I mean, a fling. Just while we're away, no strings, no obligations, not a word to Ingrid, our little secret. Because I'd be up for it, that's all. She made a noise in her throat somewhere between laughter and a growl. Up for it. He was grinning expectantly like a salesman offering great deals on finance. Our little secret. To add to all the others, presumably. A phrase entered her mind. A mouth is just a mouth. There's only one thing she could do, and oblivious to her own nakedness, she bounced up out of the water and with all her weight, pushed his head under the water and held it there. She began a slow count. 1, 2, 3. You arrogant, self-satisfied little 4, 5, 6, and you stupid, stupid woman, stupid for caring, stupid for thinking that he cared. 7, 8, 9. He's flailing now. Better let him up, I suppose, and make a joke of it. 10. And she took her hands from the top of his head and let him bounce up. He was laughing, shaking the water from his hair and eyes, and she laughed too, a rigid ha ha ha. I take it that's a no, then, he said eventually, pinching the seawater from his nose. I think so. I think our moment passed some time ago. Oh, really? Are you sure? Because I think we'd feel much better if we got it out of the way. Got it out of the way? I just think we'd feel closer, as friends. You're worried that not sleeping together could spoil our friendship. I'm not expressing myself very well. Dexter, I understand you perfectly. That's the problem. If you're scared of Ingrid, I'm not scared of her. I'm just not going to do it so that we can say that we've done it. And I'm not going to do it if the first thing you say afterwards is, please don't tell anyone, or let's forget it ever happened. If you have to keep something secret, it's because you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But he was peering past her, eyes narrowed towards the beach, and she turned towards the shore just in time to see a small, slim figure hurtling at great speed along the sand, carrying something over his head in triumph like a captured flag. A shirt, a pair of trousers. "Oi!" shouted Dexter, barreling towards the shore now, yelling through mouthfuls of water, then taking startling, high-kneed strides up the beach, pounding after the thief who had stolen all his clothes. By the time he made it back to Emma, breathless and fuming, she was sitting on the beach, fully dressed and sober once again. "Any sign of them?" "Nope. Gone," he said tragically. "Just completely fucked off and gone." And it took a light breeze to remind him that he was naked, and he angrily cupped one hand between his legs. "Did he take your wallet?" she asked, her face fixed in an earnest rictus. "No, just some cash. I don't know, 10-15 quids. Worth... little bastard." "Well, I suppose that's just one of the perils of skinny dipping," she mumbled, the corners of her mouth twitching. "It's the trousers that wind me up. They were helmet laying. The underpants were Prada. 30 bloody quid a go. And those underpants... What's up with you?" But Emma couldn't speak for laughter. "It's not funny, Em. I've been robbed." "I know, I'm sorry." "They were helmet laying, Em." "I know, it's just you, so angry and no clothes." She crouched over, her fists and forehead pressed into the sand before keeling over sideways. "Pack it in, Em. It's not funny." "Emma? Emma, that's enough." When she could stand again, they spent a while walking up the beach in silence, Dexter suddenly very cold and coy, Emma walking discreetly ahead, looking at the sand and trying to contain herself. "What kind of little bastard steals someone's underpants?" muttered Dexter. "Know how I'm going to find the little sod? I'm going to look for the only well-dressed bastard on the whole bloody island." And Emma collapsed onto the sand once more, head between her knees. When the search proved fruitless, they beach-combed for emergency clothing. Emma found a heavy-duty sack in blue plastic. Dexter held it daintily around his waist like a miniskirt, while Emma suggested that they cut slits and make it into a pinafore dress, then collapsed once more. The route home took them along the harbor front. "It's a lot busier than I expected," said Emma. Dexter adjusted his face into an expression of larky self-deprecation and marched on past the pavement taverna, eyes fixed forward, ignoring the wolf whistles. They headed into the town, and coming up a narrow alley, they suddenly found themselves facing the couple from the beach, red-faced with booze and sun, clinging to each other drunkenly as they tottered down the steps towards the harbor. They stared bemused at Dexter's blue sacking miniskirt. "Someone stole my clothes," he explained curtly. The couple nodded sympathetically and squeezed past them, the girl pausing to turn and shout after them, "Nice sack!" "It's helmet laying," said Emma, and Dexter narrowed his eyes at her treachery. The sulk lasted all the way home, and by the time they were back in the room, the fact of the shared bed had somehow lost its significance. Emma went into the bathroom to change into an old gray t-shirt. When she came out, the blue plastic coal sack lay on the floor at the foot of the bed. "You should hang this up," she said, nudging the sack with her toe. "It'll get creased." "Ha," he said, lying on the bed in new underwear. "So is that them?" "What?" "The famous 30-quid underpants. What are they, lined with ermine?" "Let's just go to sleep, shall we? So, which side?" "This one." They lay on their backs in parallel, Emma relishing the sensation of the cold white sheets against tender skin. "Nice day," she said. "Till that last bit," he mumbled. She turned to look at him, his face in profile, staring petulantly at the ceiling. She nudged his foot with hers. "It's only trousers and a pair of pants. I'll buy you some nice new ones. 3 pack of cotton briefs." Dexter sniffed, and she took his hand beneath the sheet, squeezed it hard until he turned his head to look at her. "Seriously, Dex," she smiled, "I'm really pleased to be here. I'm having a really nice time." "Yeah, me too," he mumbled. 8 more days, she said. 8 more days. "Think you can hack it?" "Who knows?" He smiled affectionately, and for good or ill, everything was just as it had been before. So how many rules did we break tonight?" She thought for a moment. One, 2, and 4. "Well, at least we didn't play Scrabble." "There's always tomorrow." She reached above her head, turned the light off, then lay on her side with her back to him. Everything was just how it had been before, and she was unsure how she felt about this. For a moment she worried that she might not be able to sleep for dwelling on the day, but to her relief she soon found herself overcome with weariness, sleep creeping through her veins like anesthetic. Dexter lay for a while looking at the ceiling in the blue light, feeling that he had not been at his best tonight. Being with Emma demanded a certain level of behavior, and he was not always up to the mark. Glancing over at Emma, her hair falling away from the nape of her neck, the newly tanned skin dark against the white sheets, He contemplated touching her shoulder to apologize. "Night, Dex," she murmured, while she could still speak. "Night, Em," he replied, but she was already gone. 8 days to go, he thought. 8 whole days. Almost anything could happen in 8 days. The end. Thank you for listening. Oh my gosh. Isn't it? It's very interesting. I really like it. And yeah, I don't know. I definitely like it. It's just like the chapters are so unpredictable what they're gonna be about. And they keep getting like, I love it because of like their dynamic. There's so much like, I guess, tension where I'm like, am I gonna have to read, you know? I don't know. It's not fun. I get so scared. Like, I've seen the show and the movie, so I'm like fairly confident I'm not gonna have to read anything like that, but I literally have no idea. Ugh. Happy New Year. La la la. Thank you, Jarrett. Happy New Year. I hope you're good. And your family, this story is getting good. I'm so glad you like it, Colin. And awesome. Plus, it's a nice book that you're reading. Thank you. My grandmother got me that. It's very old, but I kind of like it like that. But my grandmother got me this for Christmas, so we're no longer borrowing my sister's copy. How's your Christmas and your New Year's? I had really good holidays, actually. It was lovely. Did you have a good Christmas and New Year's? Why are you reading this book if you hate it? Know what you should write a book about? Something that really interests you the most. Does this story inspire you of anything? So, I don't hate it. It's just the part of, like, reading about him being naked in the shower that I was just like, I don't want to read this out loud. I love it. It's a really good book. That's just what I mean by unpredictable. I'm like, what am I gonna have to read out loud? I'm very awkward. So, I'm actually, like, she reminds me of me a little. She sounds a lot more smart, like, intellectual, way more than me, but the way that she talks about how awkward she is with, like, flirting and stuff like that, yeah, I felt that. So there's just like certain parts where I'm like, I really don't want to say this out loud, but it's okay. Yes, I actually do want, I don't know, I have thought for years of writing a book myself, actually. Because, like, I thought that for years before because, I've always been told I'm a really good writer, regardless if I have the confidence or not in my writing, but, by, like, teachers and professors and my parents and friends, so I have thought of writing a book, and then I was also, I remember this, years ago, when I was, like, 21, so, like, 5-6 years ago, I remember, like, talking to my good friend about something, and I'm not gonna say what it was about, but it was like, we were just talking, and she just said, you need to write a book about, like, your life, and, like, what you've been through, and things like that, and, like, your experiences, because I really, like, she thinks it would really, I don't know, it would just be really good for a lot of people to read it, what I've experienced, or something. So I did think for years I should write a book, and then she kind of, like, put it in my head that I should write a book about my life. So I'd be down, I just haven't, like, sat down and, like, thought about what that would look like or sound like, but I think it'd be cool. I think if, the stuff that I've been through was not for nothing, would be cool. If that makes sense. Like, if there was, like, a reason for the experiences I've had, that'd be cool. If it wasn't for not, if that makes sense. If it actually, like, helped to make a difference in someone else's life, then I'd be cool with it. If that makes sense. Like, I think it's not good to dwell on the past or, like, regret things. I think if you've made mistakes, it's good to try and learn from them and not keep making the same mistakes. But I would never say, like, I wish none of that stuff had ever happened to me, because I know that it did, like, shape me into the person I am now. I grew a lot in wisdom and a lot of things. So there's a lot of, like, because of the experiences I had, that resulted in a lot of growth for me as a person. So I wouldn't say I regret it or wish it never happened, or I wish I could go back to before all of that happened and stop it from happening, because I'm the person I am now because of all of that. So, but it does seem like there are times when, if I think about it long enough, it does feel like unfair that certain things happen to me. Yeah. It feels unfair a lot of the time. So it wouldn't feel, or I guess it would make it feel a bit better if I could take those things and experiences and make a difference with them. You know, use them to make a difference. So that'd be cool. So I'd be down to write a book. I really would. I'd love that. I don't even know how you, like, begin to write a book. But that'd be pretty cool. This story is, like, amazing. I really like the way it's written. I don't even know how to, like, start talking about what I think of this book. It's, like, it's very unique. I love when they're, like, going through their inner, like, thought processes while they're also talking to each other. Like, when she's talking about herself, or, like, oh my gosh, the part I almost, like, when they're, like, skinny dipping, okay, and it's so clear that she's getting mad, or, like, she's getting irritated because of how he's talking about her and their friendship and stuff. Like, I was getting mad because, like, totally been there, and, like, I don't know, just, like, the stupidity of, like, a mouth is just a mouth. No, not the stupidity. Like, that was fine, what he said, but, like, the way that, like, she thought back on him saying that about another person and, like, applied it to, like, their friendship. Like, if we did hook up or we did kiss, this is how he would probably feel about me, like, because he said that about someone else. And that was, like, I really liked that. I mean, in, like, I was getting mad with her, but, like, it was very real, I guess. I don't know. I really like it. Like, I'm like, relating with her a lot, and I'm relating with him a bit, because I'm also, like, well, I'm not gonna say that. Anyway, yeah, the whole book is, like, real and genuine, and, like, I'm relating with the characters, so I like it. But I like getting their inner monologues and thought processes while they're also talking to each other. But anyway, yeah, that part was, like, oh, I was getting mad too. Like, he was just like, we should just go ahead and do it, and she's like, get it over with, and she's like, get it over with, because, like, you don't want to hear that. If you've, you know, I know they're both, like, kind of in denial. I know they're in love with each other. You can tell. So it's like, you're in denial, but you know you love him, and he says, let's just get it over with. that would just, like, crush me, you know? And that is kind of, like, I've been there. They don't actually come out and say it like that, but, like, when you just deeply care for someone more than they clearly care for you, like, I've been, because I have, like, the biggest heart. And once I allow myself to start caring about someone and then loving someone, and it's, like, so obvious that they don't give two shits about you back, you don't want to give, like, a part of yourself to them like that, because they're just gonna, like, take it and then throw you to the curb. So it's, like, hurtful. So the fact that he, like, just came out and said it like that was just so, like, unfeeling, and, like, she's just like, no, that's not, like, if we ever did anything physical together, I wouldn't want it to feel like we just got it over with and, like, now we can't tell anyone. That was a good freaking chapter. I'm sorry. I'm still going on. That was a really good chapter. Okay. I'm assuming nobody's here anymore unless YouTube is having, like, one of those technical issues with the comments again. That happened last stream. That was really annoying. Do you love mystery books or drama books? I don't know. So I've never been good at knowing, like, music or books, like, knowing what fits into what genre. I'm, like, super down to explore all the genres, so I don't even know if I've read any drama or mystery books, but I'm so down. Do you have any good recommendations? Also, if you're in my Discord, Colin, I don't know if you're part of our Discord community, but if you want to join, that'd be awesome, because you're great. But I do have a channel in that server where you can recommend books, book suggestions that you like. Same with video games, actually, and movies, and music. We have a lot of channels. So, I'd love it if you joined, and you can recommend mystery and drama books that you like. That'd be cool. But anyway, my head officially hurts, and Michael, how are you? Yeah, this was chapter 5 that we just read, and yeah, it's really good. And if you missed any of the other chapters, by the way, if you really liked it today, 1 through 4 are posted in my Read Aloud stream playlist, if you want to go back and hear those too. But, oh my gosh, it's so good. And if you just want to bypass and get to the end, Netflix has an incredible show for this book. I love this. But no, they did a really good job on the show. I wouldn't recommend the movie over the show. I think the show's way better. So that's something. Somebody did come in last stream. Someone came in and they were like, okay, Sunny, I watched the show and you're just, like, setting us up to get our hearts crushed. And, like, I don't remember what he said, but basically it's a really sad ending. I don't care, because the whole story before the ending is so incredible. But anyway, also, I just want to give a little shout out to my mother, who made this bookmark for me. Wait, for you, Bunny. She, like, just started getting into watercolor. And, like, that's just, like, it's so cute. She just tried it. What is that? What is my family? They're just like, I think I'll just try watercolor today and see how it goes. And then they pump one of these little guys. She's pumped out so many little bookmarks with different animals on them. It's so cute. Yeah. Well, I love bunnies. Like, if you've seen my bedding in the background of my gaming streams, it's just bunnies on my bed. But anyway, and I have, like, this is Lawrence. He's my buddy. He's my bunny buddy. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out. She gave me this for Christmas. Thank you, Mom. I love you. Your art is beautiful. Don't stop. But anyway, okay. Oh, I just clicked something. Oh no. Oh no. Let me not. Okay. But, whoa. But, I don't think it's an Easter movie, but yeah, I've seen Peter Rabbit. It's cute. I mean, I grew up on Beatrix Potter. Oh. I hate TikTok with all my heart, actually. Okay. I was gonna say, I grew up on Beatrix Potter, so I watched Peter Rabbit stuff before that movie came out. But it was cute. I liked it. I like Domhnall Gleeson and Rose Byrne, so. That's nice bunny stuff animal, okay? Anyway, so, I'm guessing I should go. I am both on YouTube and TikTok today, yes. What? Ooh, the next. Ooh. Wait. Oh, we're on to part 2 of the book. How many parts are there? This part is called Late 20s. Okay, so it's taking place. That's interesting. So part 1 was 1988 through 1992, and now we're on to 1993 through 1995. Cool. Yeah. So, next stream will be tomorrow. I'm doing another gaming stream. And then I'm just gonna have to let y'all know when we're reading this again. It'll be next week. I just don't know what day yet, so I'm trying to be consistent, but it's been the holiday season. It's not my fault, okay? We're gonna get back into it. It's okay. So next week, probably most likely Thursday, I will do another read aloud stream. So that'll be chapter 6, and yeah. Go to YouTube if you want to see the other chapters that you missed. Sorry, I'm also on TikTok. Don't ask me why. I really, no offense to y'all, but oh my goodness, I don't like TikTok. But I'm gonna play Metroid. We're gonna keep playing Metroid until it's done, so that I don't have to keep unplugging my Switch and plugging in my PS5 back and forth. So once Metroid's over, I'm down to like juggle between different games as long as they're all on the PS5. So I'm trying to do like Last of Us, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, Rayman Legends, maybe some Astro Bot. So I'm excited. I don't normally want to just only do one game until I'm done. I think once we get back into the PS5, we're just going to be like switching up between a bunch of games all the time. So I'm excited. But cool. I'm going to go cook dinner. Also, just like, sorry, I've never done this actually, but side little question. Do we like the dress or hate it? Because, like, it was $2, so I kind of had to buy it. Because it fits, you know. But I never wear orange. I wish it was orange and pink. Then I would love it. But it's not. So, I thought the, like, pattern was kind of... I actually don't know how I feel about the pattern or anything about it. But if it's good, like, if it's not god-awful ugly, I'm just gonna wear it to work tomorrow. So, I was like, maybe I'll ask my viewers if they like it. Or my friends. The dress looks nice. Okay. Thank you, Colin. Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go cook dinner, and yeah, I hope you guys had an absolutely beautiful, wonderful Christmas and New Year's. And we're going into 2025 strong. It's gonna be a good year. I know we always say that, but I really have like so much confidence that this is gonna be a good year. So, yeah. Sorry, what did you say? Okay, thanks. Okay, I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, I hope, for my other stream. Stay safe.